Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We're still talking cricket. The captain and opener for the West Indies, Craig Brathwaite, batting on his home turf, Kensington Oval, on Sunday, broke the record for most balls faced by a West Indian batter to help his team salvage a draw in the second test. In a marathon first innings, Brathwaite had scored 160 in an 11-hour innings. He followed up that performance with 56 not out from 186 deliveries, making that 673 deliveries faced across both innings. The fact is that that was an outstanding performance from him and gave the West Indies a chance, certainly, at recovering late on the final day when things were beginning to look a little bit sticky. 282 they were set for victory in the last two sessions, and they reached 135 for 5 before both teams shook hands, leaving everything to play for the third and final test starting Thursday in Grenada. Captain of the England team, Joe Root, admitted he could have been braver with an earlier declaration. He said, "It's frustrating not to win, but the way we played was a brilliant effort on a very placid surface. We could have been a bit braver with the declaration, but it feels like a faster scoring ground here. I thought they might have a little go, but that wasn't the case." Yeah, and the West Indies and England draw, fling to a draw at Kensington Oval, second match in a row. The series still locked at 0-0, Mariah. And Grenada, the Kirani James Stadium, will decide what happens in this series.
Yeah, and I just want to go back quickly to what Joe Root said about, being frustrated, because the thing is, they did everything right up to a certain point. The only hurdle in their way was Craig Brathwaite. And I think it's so great to be, okay, so I'm supporting Craig Brathwaite because I'm in the West Indies, obviously. So it's so great to be on this end of the spectrum where your batsman is just so unbothered, Lance, and I think that's the word to describe him. He literally is at that crease and you can come at him, and I do know in the post-match interview he spoke about the amount of work that he's been doing behind the scenes, just improving his game, his shot selections, the manner in which he approaches everything, and it has definitely worked for him. And I do hope that moving forward, a lot of the other opening batsmen can learn a thing or two, but that innings was pure class, and just the manner in which he can put his hand up for the team, knowing that, it's really up to him. The onus is on him to get them across the line. It's unfortunate that they didn't get a win, but this is all they could have scraped from it, and he ensured that he got everything out of it.
Yeah, the fact is that Craig Brathwaite, from his teenage years, Mariah, had shown a big appetite for occupation of the crease and batting long innings. He is the type of batsman that does not take many risks. So in many instances, he's ideally suited to the opening position in Test cricket because he will bat and bat and bat. And he loves making hundreds. I'm not sure what his 100 count is at the moment, but about 3 years ago, I know he had scored about 80 centuries in his career. 11 Test hundreds now, but I mean in school cricket, under 15 cricket, under 17, under 19, club cricket. I think he's probably heading up towards 100 centuries in all cricket.
Agreed.
But I'm just saying that from he was 14 years old, 13 years old, he has been scoring hundreds. So he has this appetite for scoring runs. Now, scoring runs as a teenager in schools cricket or regional cricket isn't the same as Test cricket, because you step up now to the highest form of the game and you are tested.
Yes.
So he has scored 11 Test hundreds now, I think, which is good. But he has had patches in his career where he has struggled. But he is a player that represents determination. He works really, really hard. And I think no one can fault Craig Brathwaite as far as application is concerned. And that is what we always ask of our West Indies players. To, even when things get tough, show diligence and application. And even if you lose and the fans see that there was this disciplined effort to try to get a result, I think sometimes the fans would not have been as hard on the players as they sometimes are.
Exactly, and I know just a short while ago you mentioned that, the third test will be in Grenada. Earlier today we got a press release from West Indies saying that, they are going with an unchanged squad, Lance. Before we speak about the squad and the fact that there has been no changes made, let's talk about the conditions, because that has been a point of concern, a point of criticism, a point of discussion, whatever you want to call it. Many people very, very disappointed in the previous two pitches that they had to bat and bowl on. So, Lance, are we expecting, based on the outpour from the cricket-loving public, changes to be made in Grenada?
Well, we would expect that the curator for the Grenada National Stadium would work very hard in trying to ensure that the pitch there offers something more for the bowlers, particularly the fast bowlers, because we didn't see that in Antigua. We didn't see that at Kensington Oval either, which for fans of West Indies cricket and the fans in Barbados would be horrified by a Barbados pitch that is playing the way that it is now, given the history that the Barbados pitch had served up, good bowling and batting opportunities for either team. Fazeer Mohammed now joins us. Fazeer, can we pick up on that point? Because the pitch is something we've spoken about for the past couple of weeks, both the Antigua pitch and the Kensington Oval pitch. Your expectations of Grenada and what it might offer to the bowlers?
First of all, let me apologize for joining late for our discussion this evening. But I don't expect it to be any different, because this is more about business than cricket. And that is the disappointing element of it. Of course, there will be denials. But as you said, Lance, we know the history of the Kensington Oval strip to be one in which not necessarily that it's a fast bowler's paradise where batsmen are weaving and ducking and fearing for their lives. But it presents a more even contest. We didn't see that in Antigua. It was even worse in Barbados. That takes nothing away from the tremendous resilience of Craig Brathwaite in the same way, and Kumar Bonner in the Antigua Test match. But let's be straight about it. Do you go to a sporting contest to watch a gritty, dour, grueling event for the better part of 4 days, which eventually comes to life late on the 5th day? Nobody wants to watch that. But it was essentially about ensuring that the fans who were there, the vast majority of them being English fans, that they were there, that there was cricket to watch, and there was a game being played. Never mind that it wasn't much of a spectacle.
Yeah, Faz, we just spoke about Craig Brathwaite and the application that he showed in this innings, this test match, both innings, I should say, which turned out, especially on the final day, to be very beneficial to the West Indies. But he broke a record 673 deliveries, breaking Brian Lara's 582 balls he faced in the 2004 April test match when he scored 400 not out. How enviable is that record for Craig Brathwaite, the 29-year-old Barbadian?
Well, I don't get the impression that Craig Brathwaite is really bothered by these things too much. He is pretty much an enigmatic character. He's very much comfortable in his own skin, Lance. He knows that he will never get the limelight that the stroke players would get, the shot makers would get. It's all like a latter-day Shivnarine Chanderpaul or a Jimmy Adams who's there to offer that support. The problem is with this West Indies setup is that he's actually one of the star batsmen, averaging in the 30s, when you've got so much mediocrity around. So there really isn't let's say the Batman to his Robin or vice versa, because essentially the batting is so limited, the quality is so limited by virtue of the numbers that he stands out. And yes, I'm sure he would prefer to be much more attractive as a stroke maker, but that is not Craig Brathwaite. He plays the game his own way. It's turned out very, very well for the West Indies in this test match. And if it is that in the next test match he faces even more deliveries just to ensure that the West Indies don't lose, or who knows, maybe even actually win, I don't think he's actually taken one way or the other by that.
Yeah, the selectors had given themselves, Faz, some wiggle room with regard to the team to be played, because they waited until the end of every test match to name the squad for the next test match. Just in the past couple of hours, an unchanged 13-man squad for this Grenada test match. Do you anticipate that they will shuffle any of their cards going to Grenada?
I suppose the only issue will be work rate on the faster bowlers, and indeed, of course, playing for the West Indies in a test match is a special privilege. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of those fast bowlers said, look, I'm going to invent an injury to miss out in Grenada, if it is that it's going to be anything like what we saw in Antigua and Barbados. But really, it's 0-0. There's everything to play for. But again, let's hope against hope that we get a pitch that makes it a proper contest, because even if many might argue that, look, the last two test matches ended with some excitement, the West Indies battling to avoid defeat in the last session, that's the beauty of test cricket. That's foolishness. because it's the equivalent of saying, well, you know, there's a football game coming up at the National Stadium, but turn up in the last 15 minutes because there's going to be no shots on goal. They're just going to be passing the ball around. It's going to be pretty aimless football, but in the last 15 minutes, you're going to get action aplenty. So only turn up in the last 15 minutes. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard, Faz, but as we leave, there is a story about Akil Hussain travelling to Grenada as cover, possibly for Fazeer Mohammed, who had a finger injury, as you know, but bowled well, we thought. Any news on that from where you stand?
Nothing on this end, but if you follow what has been happening with the development of Akil Hussain's career, it wouldn't be a surprise if he's brought in there as cover because he bowls a bit quicker. He's got a sharp turn. He can really extract quite a bit. He's a useful low order player. But I think it would be harsh on Fazeer Mohammed once he's past fit. If you were to leave out Fazeer Mohammed, who's really battled hard, like Jack Leach of England, in conditions that really didn't offer assistance. Because everybody's saying, well, it's a spinner's pitch, you should be doing better. The turn is slow, it's occasional, you get a bit of bite. So, again, Akil Hussain might get his opportunity, but I think it would be harsh to leave out Fazeer Mohammed once he's fit.
Yeah, Faz, we've got to leave it there. We'll see what happens for this Grenada test, which starts on Thursday, which will decide the series. Thanks, Faz, for talking to us.
My pleasure. Take it.
Yeah.
Well, still to come on the SportsMax zone.
He looks a little tired. Femke Bol is closing. Justina Sweetie Ursutic. So often she times it to perfection. Stephanie Ann McPherson is holding it at the moment. It's going to be gold for Jamaica. What a fitting way for the track athletics to come.
Leighton Levy will join us to recap the World Athletics Indoor Championships. We also have an NBA segment, but next, Barcelona Celebrations. What happened at the Santiago Bernabeu on Sunday? I guess we could say classical Barcelona as they rout La Liga leaders Real Madrid in the latest installment of El Clásico.